Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. A handful of cities around the country will soon have their first Native American elected representatives after the midterm elections. That includes Gallup, New Mexico, where a Dene woman will take a seat on the city council. It's a historic first for the city that has a majority Native American population. And Choctaw citizen Chris Roberts served 2 terms as Shoreline, Washington's first Native mayor. Now he will become the first Native city council member. We'll hear from these and other Native elected leaders after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. This year, 5 Native Americans were among 29 people named Bush Fellows. The Bush Fellowship provides up to $150,000 over 2 years for the fellows to build on their leadership skills. In the second of 5 profiles, Brian Bull of Buffalo's Fire highlights what a South Dakota University administrator wants to accomplish.
John Little is the Director of Native Recruitment and Alumni Engagement at the University of South Dakota. The Standing Rock Sioux tribal member works with many Native students and wants to get more fired up for higher education. He says part of getting many ready is adapting from small Midwestern rural communities to large campuses with many academic offerings.
It is a shock factor for a lot of students.
Boosting Native enrollment and retention will be a challenge. In a census review shared by the Post-Secondary National Policy Institute, data showed that nearly 26% of Natives age 18 to 24 were enrolled in college, compared to 39% of the overall U.S. population. Additionally, undergraduate enrollment dropped 40%, while graduate enrollment fell 18% for Native students. Little says he's been lucky to have parents who've supported his academic goals, including a master's degree from USD and a PhD from the University of Minnesota.
Especially my mom has been really influential in me going to school and has been there every step. Not every student that I work with in South Dakota has that, or maybe they do, but they're first gen, so they just don't know what that looks like.
Little says he'll research college fairs and regional programs to develop stronger preparation initiatives for future students. For National Native News, I'm Brian Bull.
A study aims to shed light on the hidden impacts of domestic violence in Native communities. The Mountain West News Bureau's Daniel Spalding reports on the effort to understand the unrecognized brain injuries many survivors are living with.
The Urban Indian Health Institute survey aims to find out how common traumatic brain injuries are among Native survivors of domestic and sexual violence. More than 80% of Indigenous women have experienced violence in their lifetime. According to Abigail Echohawk, the Institute's director, many survivors of domestic and sexual violence suffer from brain injuries that never get diagnosed or receive proper care.
They deserve justice, they deserve safety, and they deserve to get the treatment that they need when they've been impacted by traumatic brain injury.
The goal of the survey is to ensure survivors get the right care and support through programs and policies designed to help them heal. The survey began in October and will remain open through January 2026. I'm Daniel Spalding.
Another Arizona tribe has been picked to keep a newer holiday tradition going by supplying this year's Capitol Christmas tree. KJZZ's Gabriel Pietrazio has more.
For 3 years running under Governor Katie Hobbs, the state has taken bids from tribes, beginning with the White Mountain Apache in 2023, then the San Carlos Apache last year. Now the Capitol tree will come from the people of the Tall Pines, or Wallapai.
And I hope no matter who is in the office of the governor, that this holiday spirit of bringing all our communities together continues.
Wayne Clark is chairman of the 2,300-member Wallapai tribe north of Kingman.
Oddly enough, the one tree that has been selected, it's close to, I want to say about 30 feet, was not one of the 3 options, to be honest. Councilman Imus did a quick prayer. He turned to the right and said, "That's the tree." We all looked, and it was a moment of awe.
The tribe will bless the tree before trucking it more than 200 miles to the state capitol from their reservation hugging the Grand Canyon's west rim. It will be on display by December 1st. For National Native News, I'm Gabriel Pietrazio.
And I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
The Indian Arts and Crafts Board promotes Indian artists of federally recognized tribes through its online source directory. Information on this no-charge opportunity available at doi.gov/IACB, who support this program.
Support from Clarkson Potter, publisher of Turtle Island, Foods and Traditions of the Indigenous Peoples of North America by Native American chef Sean Sherman. With ancestral and modern recipes, this cookbook showcases diverse foodways of the continent's regions.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. New York City's mayoral race may have attracted much of the national spotlight in this year's midterm elections, but Native elected leaders were able to make some historic firsts across the country. Sierra Yazi Asamoah Tutu is Diné and a political newcomer. She will take her seat on the Gallup, New Mexico City Council in January. It's the first Native council member in a predominantly Native city. On the other side of the country, the small town of Parkton, North Carolina, elected its first Native mayor in the town's 125-year history. And Chris Roberts, who is the mayor of Shoreline, Washington, and Choctaw, will assume a new role on the city council after more than 16 years in public service. We'll hear from these elected leaders as well as an Osage citizen and the first Native American mayor in Oklahoma City about being a moderate voice in the Republican Party. Listeners can join us with a comment or a question by calling 1-800-996-2848. That number is also 1-800-99-NATIVE. Joining us now from Parkton, North Carolina is Ed Lowry. He is mayor-elect of the town of Parkton, and he is Lumbee. Mayor-elect Lowry, hello, and welcome to our show. We'll go back to Mayor-elect Lowry in just a moment. Joining us from Shoreline, Washington is Mayor Chris Roberts. He is the mayor of the city of Shoreline and is council member-elect for Shoreline. He is Choctaw. Mayor Roberts, good morning and welcome back to Native America Calling.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And also joining us today in Gallup, New Mexico, we have Sierra Yazi Asamoah Tutu. She is the council member-elect for the city of Gallup. She is Diné. Council member-elect Asamoah Tutu, hello and welcome to Native America Calling today.
Yate, Sean. Good to be with you.
It's great to have you as well. Now, you are a clinical social worker, and among other goals you highlighted during your campaign is an emphasis on improving behavioral health in Gallup. Tell us, how can the city make that happen?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that the city has focused on in the past regarding alcohol-related deaths and regarding, I guess, what's mostly been seen as, a Native problem. I think that what we've been missing in regard to that is a trauma-informed perspective and bringing in just some healthy conversation around historical trauma and the lasting impacts of colonization on Native people, and then also kind of a return to cultural values as what really supports the healing. I have not seen a lot of innovation in that field here. So coming to Gallup, just to give a little bit of background, I spent 12 years in the Twin Cities in Minnesota before moving back home almost 6 years ago now. And so that time in the Twin Cities, it gave me a lot of experience in an intertribal context, working with the American Indian, urban Indian population up there, and also seeing a lot of the innovative things that are being done in behavioral health by Native communities. And when I returned home, I found that some of that was missing. There are some great initiatives. I don't want to discount the things that people are already doing here. But when we're talking about addressing the unhoused population, Gallup does have kind of a unique position as a border town, and I fail to see a lot of good faith effort on the part of the city historically to work with the tribe and to work with tribal people in a really respectful way. So that's one thing that I'm definitely really focused on right out the door is building those relationships. And I did actually just this weekend get the opportunity to attend a local chapter meeting, you know, and make some connections and just let the people there know that I'm here and that I want to be in relationship with them while we're working to serve our people.
This is all exciting. Now, tell me a little bit more about how you intend to lead. You are a political newcomer, first time in a public office, and you know, it can be challenging, especially right now. We're in a very divisive time politically. And of course, as you mentioned, there have been some deep-seated systemic issues and challenges for Native people there in the city of Gallup. Tell me more about your plan going forward and how you hope to implement it.
Well, Sean, because of I love that we have, you know, a Native audience today, and I can speak a little bit deeper on some of these things. But honestly, it's those underlying values that we're all related. It's that, you know, our liberation and our health and wellness even is really connected to one another, that we can't discount anybody, you know, even those who have caused harm and maybe are going to have a harder time coming to the table because of fear or because of shame or whatever issues, you know, just ignorance around the issues. Sometimes that makes it hard for people to talk about. The skill that I bring there really comes from my therapy practice and being a professional listener. I really see the good and the value in every single human being, and I believe that when we can approach each other from that place, nothing is impossible. That we can cross these divides and we can have healing conversation, even if we're not calling it that, right? But a conversation that feels different to people, where they feel like they're given the dignity and respect as a human being first, and that we can look at each other and recognize our humanity and our brotherhood or sisterhood across that table, and to really recognize that we need to do better for each other. We need to do better for the most vulnerable. And so that does come from my social work experience, and it also comes from the things I've been taught by elders in our tribal communities about what it means to be a good relative and to take care of our community.
In Gallup, is that a full-time job being a city council member?
No, not officially. It's a lot of people actually serve on the city council while holding a full-time job. And so, you know, it's considered basically what you volunteer, like the time you want to put into it. There is a small stipend involved. It's certainly not enough to pay you for, say, half-time or full-time work. Part of what had me feel like it was doable for me is that I recently became a stay-at-home mom, and I do some clinical contract work from home, but my schedule is very flexible, and I do plan to put a lot of time and energy into organizing and working across groups, you know, being present at different decision-making meetings that are happening more at the grassroots level, and then as well as just canvassing, door knocking, continuing to talk to constituents. I think it's very important that we stay in touch with the constituents of the town and understand how they're feeling about different issues while we make decisions at City Hall.
Now, there were some other Navajo people who ran for office this year, including a candidate for mayor and also school board. Do you have any insights in terms of what it might take for bringing more Native voices into elected leadership positions in the city of Gallup?
Oh, that's a tough question. I can't say like what that key factor would be on how to make that happen. I really did believe that we might get a Navajo mayor into office this year. There were two Navajo candidates, both Tamaris Montano and Lyndon Sosi. I thought they were both great candidates, and I really thought that we had a chance for one of them to take office. That's not the way it went, and so it just can be hard when you're campaigning to feel out, you know, the actual end result of the election. I think that in general, I really do sense that people in Gallup are ready for some change and ready for more representation in government. I don't think that it's as oppositional or as intentionally keeping people out as maybe it was historically. And so I think there's good opportunity, and we need people to step up and run. And that was part of what motivated me in making my decision, was feeling like it was kind of that Gandhi moment, be the change you want to see. If you're saying this should happen, then, why not you? If not me, who is going to do this? I don't know, but I feel like I can, and I'm willing right now. So I'm going to step into that.
The Gandhi moment. I like the way you describe that. But you just mentioned that you feel that maybe things are improving there in Gallup, and maybe people are getting along better, and there's less divisiveness perhaps than in years past as you describe it. Give me some examples, maybe on the campaign trail, situations where you feel like, you know what, things are changing here. This is not the Gallup of the 1970s or earlier. This isn't that same community where some of the strife and turmoil has occurred. What are you seeing?
I am hearing different questions from constituents, residents in Gallup. There are a lot of people, for example, who have moved here to work in healthcare, education, who are looking for a town that's open and that's multicultural like we are, and want to do that in a really ethical way, who are concerned with equity and who are bringing that conversation up for the town to consider. I also think that it's just in general, maybe following some of the national trend, or seeing more people of color in office around the country, that there's more of a willingness to understand the need for representative government. And we have a lot of a good programming here, in arts programming and different things that do serve a variety of different communities. We have people standing up a little bit more also. I want to just highlight the Yazzie Martinez educational lawsuit against the state of New Mexico Educational Department for that educational equity happening in our local school district. And that has changed the face of our school board and the face of our community in terms of serving our students. Now, the school district, of course, is governed separately from the city and the municipality and the county, but we will all work together. We do cross paths here and there to serve the families of this area.
Sierra Yazzie Asamoah Tutu kicking off our conversation here on Native America Calling, council member-elect for the city of Gallup. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Native American language advocates are walking the razor's edge between getting left behind in the quickly evolving technology that AI promises and the threat it poses to misrepresent Native culture. We'll hear about ways AI is helping language revitalization and the recommended cautions as it moves forward. That's on the next Native America Calling.
The Association on American Indian Affairs invites all to Tribal Museums Day, December 6th through December 12th. Tribal museums may offer no-cost or reduced admission, art markets, and live cultural demonstrations. Tribal Museums Day honors diverse Native nations as the experts of their own cultures. You can find a map of tribal museums and more at indian-affairs.org/Tribal Museums Day. The association supports this show.
Thank you for listening to Native America Calling. We are speaking with Native elected leaders who won seats in the most recent election. We'll hear about the issues they'll be tackling when they're sworn into office. Later in the hour, we'll talk with Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt, who is Osage. He is a Republican speaking in favor of a more diverse and inclusive political environment in his city. If you have a comment or a question for any of our guests today, you can call us. What are you waiting for? Just pick up your phone and call 1-800-996-2848. Once again, that number, 1-800-996-2848, or just 1-800-99-NATIVE. Give us a call. We're looking forward to hearing from some listeners today. Joining us now from Parkton, North Carolina, Ed Lowry. He is mayor-elect of the city of Parkton, and he is Lumbee. Mayor-elect Lowry, hello, and welcome to our show today.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing really well. It's a pleasure to have you on our show today. Now, you own two businesses in Parkton, and now, of course, you are the mayor. Tell me what drew you to the town and now inspires you to lead.
Well, I came to work here for now deceased Senator Mr. David Parnell. He was Senate over the roads of North Carolina, and I would sit and just listen to him talk on my slow days working for him, and he would tell me about politics and how he got things accomplished, and it just intrigued me. And I worked for him for over 15 years, maybe 16 years, and I just fell in love with the little town. I moved here, and I've been here about 15 years since. Altogether about 30 years in the town of Parkton.
Describe the town of Parkton for us and what you're able to do to improve the town as mayor now.
Well, Parkton's a small town. It's about 2.5 miles square. Has about 600 residents in town. We have over 400 registered voters. But now the community of Parkton ranges about 7,000. And the town is small, and the zip code of Parkton is a few people that live here. But and Parkton's just a small town, and it's just like any other small town in North Carolina. They're quickly drying up and dissipating. They're going away. And I can remember when this town had grocery stores, furniture stores, it had arcades, something for kids to do, hardware stores, and gas stations. I mean, there was a lot going on, but now, over the years, those folks have passed away, and the families didn't continue the businesses. But I think, as Mayor of Parkton, and listening to the folks in town, they come over to my store all the time, and they want to talk about what can be done for the town. They want grocery stores. They want a doctor's office. They want a drugstore. And like I told them, we need a full-time police force before we can do any of that. I want people to feel that they're secure. If they come here and they build in this town, that we have a police force that's 24/7 that can make sure their businesses are safe. That's what I'm looking to do.
Tell me more about this vision for a full-time police force. What is the law enforcement situation there now, and what have been some of the challenges with not having a full-time force?
Well, right now, I was part of the committee. We just hired a full-time police chief, and we have one full-time officer. We have several part-time officers, but most of them are county officers or work in other towns, and they just fill in here a lot of times. But one of our biggest issues is that officer comes in at 7 or 8 in the morning. At 4 or 5, he's going home, and the folks in town know it. So, you got speeders after 4 or 5 in the afternoon. They just fly through town. I mean, it's just common knowledge that, they look and count the cars. They're not working today. So, I mean, so I'm hoping to change that. Like I say, we've hired a full-time officer, and we have one full-time police chief, and working with the police chief and our police commissioner, we've talked about it. And when I'm sworn in, I think we have another full-time officer getting ready to come on board. And the police chief told me that within 6 months to a year, we'll have a full-time force, a 24/7 force in this town. I mean, it's a small town. There's not a lot going on. We're probably in the top of all the small towns, or in the towns in Robeson County, that we have a very low crime rate. I mean, we have your normal stuff, like, people walking the streets late at night, or, you got just little things taking place that we need an officer. I believe if we have an officer patrolling our streets 24/7, just to see those officers out on the street will deter a lot of things. And I want our people to know, when they lay down at night, there's an officer out there riding around.
Sure. Now, you mentioned earlier people are leaving Parkton, and you don't have a lot of locally owned business there. What's it going to take to galvanize more economic development in the community?
Well, working with our economic development commissioner, talked with him, and actually people are coming to town. We've recently built a couple hundred homes, have been built in town, and right now we foresee another 200 being built. These are new homes, and most of these are military from Fort Bragg. On the completion of 295, a lot of your soldiers, they come into Parkton because it's a small town. It's a beautiful little town, and people love it. There's just nothing for them to do here. And like you say, the older folks that had the businesses have died off, and nobody has done anything with them. A lot of the buildings have been torn down. We have the land, we have the property. We just we gotta get investors to come here.
You shared earlier there's about 600 residents in the town proper of Parkton, and then the larger community extends to about 7,000 people.
Yes.
Do you know about how many of those folks are Native American or Lumbees, perhaps?
At best of my knowledge, about maybe 10% of the overall is Native American.
Now, of course, the Lumbee tribe has publicly congratulated you after the election. Tell me more about the connection to the tribe and how it adds to your ability to understand your constituency.
Well, upon being elected, they got me over and talked with me. They took me around and introduced me to the different folks in the tribe and the different branches of the tribe that can help the town, and they're all about it, and they're really willing to work with the town, and they're excited, and I'm just grateful to have them as a tool to work with.
Now, Mayor-elect, in your younger years, as I understand, you struggled with a substance abuse issue. Was politics ever something you envisioned for yourself, and was that a barrier at all in running for mayor?
Never in all my life. I would have never imagined holding any position, because prior to being elected to mayor, I sat on the town board here for 4 years, but prior to that, for over 30 years, I've been clean. But there was one time that I begged for money, stealing. I've done terrible things, and never would have imagined. People would tell me that boy will never amount to anything. But I'm just so grateful today that God touched my life, and it's been over 30 years now, and it's an amazing journey. That I don't know if it took that to get me where I'm at today, but I'm grateful today. And I have compassion for folks that are out walking the streets and begging for money, and I just have compassion. And like I said, and we actually have in our community, we have a treatment facility, and I'm so grateful for those folks that they reach out and they're trying to help people.
Mayor-elect Ed Lowry from the town of Parkton, North Carolina, joining our show today, just elected mayor, first Native American mayor in the city of Parkton, North Carolina. Listeners, you can join this conversation. Just call 1-800-996-2848 or 1-800-99-NATIVE. Let us know your thoughts with regard to these recently elected Native American leaders. Give us a call, 1-800-99-NATIVE. Joining us now from Shoreline, Washington, Mayor Chris Roberts. And Mayor Roberts, this is interesting here. Some might call this a lateral move. Others might say going from mayor to city council member is a step down. What motivated the change?
Well, it's not a change. We are, in Shoreline, we're a council manager form of government. So we elect members, the public elects members to the city council, and then the city council selects its mayors. The mayor from the council. So I've always been on the city council, and the last couple of years, or 2 years ago, I was selected by my colleagues to serve as mayor.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for that clarification. That's really helpful, Mayor. Now, you recently spoke with other Native elected officials from Washington State. What message or advice do you hear from them?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to speak last week at the National Congress of American Indians about the importance of electing Indigenous leaders to office. I was on a wonderful panel with State Senator Claudia Kaufman and State Representatives Deborah Lakenoff and Chris Stearns. And all of us really put the message out there that we need to support and to elevate the Indigenous leaders that run for office and who are elected to office. One of the things I worked on with Representative Stearns when he was a council member in Auburn, Washington, was to form the local Indigenous Leaders Organization within the National League of Cities. The National League of Cities is a an umbrella organization that of all cities across the nation. And it was when I first got there was no space for Indigenous leaders. There was no. We were looking around. There were very few of us who were at these meetings, and so along with now Representative Stearns and with now Vice Mayor Doreen Garland of Tempe, Arizona, and Councilor April Fournier of Portland, Maine, and Council Member Lisa Ford of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, we formed the Indigenous Local Leaders organization within the National League of Cities as an opportunity, not only just to take up space and say we're here, but to have that opportunity for tribal members to get together and to talk about the issues that are affecting us in our communities.
Mayor Roberts, what's also interesting here is you are Choctaw, and now here you're serving for the city of Shoreline, Washington. So you are many, many miles from your ancestral homelands. Does that create any unique challenges being a Choctaw person and serving there in Washington, where you have Pacific Northwest tribes that maybe have a different culture, maybe have different issues than what maybe Choctaw people face?
Yes. And I think the real thing is that it's working for the entire Indigenous community in Washington State. It's being an advocate and listening to and making sure that the voices of the sovereign nations within Washington State have a voice, and that their issues are addressed. We worked hard. Sort of going back to the national scope, we worked hard at the National League of Cities to create the pamphlet for local cities across the nation called the Roadmap to Repair, sort of a guidebook of how cities can help and develop better relationships with the sovereign nations within their jurisdiction and near their jurisdiction.
Now, 16 years, almost 20 years in public service. Have you seen the role change since you were first elected to office?
I've seen many more local Indigenous leaders decide to run for election. Right now in Washington State, just this year in Washington State, we had 5 city, including myself, we had 5 mayors and city council members elected to office and 8 school board members elected to office. When I first started, I looked around and I saw myself. I didn't see anyone else. And now we're really working hard to build the bench. And there's a lot of several organizations within Washington State that are really being intentional in recruiting and promoting tribal candidates who are running for a publicly elected office.
And who's seeking public office and election for the first time? Is it generating enough fundraising? Is it maybe building those key partnerships, or just the outreach? What's kind of the hardest part getting started?
We have organizations who are devoted to fundraising and promoting Native candidates from the political side, and then we still have work to do, but I think there's a lot of work that's being done to really help those candidates become better candidates and also become better officials.
In the city of Shoreline, what are the biggest obstacles right now that the city is facing, and what are you most focused on going forward?
Yeah, we are just north of the city of Seattle. We're a city of 65,000, and our biggest challenges is affordability. It is hard for people to buy a house here. Rents are high, and we're really trying to do what we can to make sure that more people of all income levels can live in the city of Shoreline. We are a wonderful city. We have lots of access to beauty and nature, and also all the urban amenities of the city of Seattle. And we just want people to live here and to afford to live here.
And of the 65,000 residents in Shoreline, about how many are Native American?
We're about around 2%, I believe.
2%. And you mentioned affordability. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was about to say is that, yes, we're 2%, but I am fortunate to serve on the city council, and we have another Choctaw member, enrolled Choctaw member, Megan Jernigan, who serves on the school board. So we are doing pretty well.
Yeah, it sounds like it's wonderful. Now we have about enough time for one more question I want to ask you, because you're also on the Washington State Tribal Opiate and Fentanyl Task Force. Tell me about some of the gains that have been made in addressing the opiate crisis there in Shoreline, or excuse me, across the whole state.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, the collaboration is really important. The state is doing a lot of work in engaging with the members of the tribal nations, because this is a problem that no one jurisdiction, no one entity can solve. We need a collaborative approach to solving the opioid crisis within Washington state, but also many of the challenges that we face require strong partnerships across jurisdictions and across sovereign entities.
Mayor Chris Roberts, Shoreline, Washington, joining us here today on Native America Calling. We're going to take another short break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk with another Native American elected leader. And we have the phone lines open, so I encourage listeners who would like to join the conversation, just give us a call, 1-800-996-2848. 1-800-996-2848. We've got the phone lines open. You can join the conversation. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
Support by the American Indian College Fund, providing millions of dollars of scholarships to Native students every year. Applications are accepted through May 31st at collegefund.org or by phone at 800-766-FUND.
Kaufman & Associates is a Native-owned and led consulting firm supporting Native communities with culturally grounded solutions to shape Indigenous futures. More at kaufmaninc.com, KAUFFMANINC.com.
You are listening to Native America Calling, and we are continuing our conversation with Native elected leaders. You can join us with a comment or question by calling 1-800-996-2848. And one of our guests today, Sierra Yazi Asamoah Tutu, is a recently elected council member for the city of Gallup, New Mexico. And council member elect, earlier we heard from some of the other guests talking about some of the challenges of running for office for the first time. And I'd like to ask you, what kind of support system did you have in place when you ran for city council? Did you have any fundraising assistance or consultants to help you, or anybody just kind of guide you in the right direction doing this for the first time?
Yeah, so I really had no idea what to expect and how to get started. Thankfully, being in a small town, it wasn't super intimidating to decide to register and run for office. I did underestimate how much funds I was going to need. I wasn't planning to spend a lot of money. And then, of course, when you start ordering the things that you actually need or buying signage, that gets really expensive really fast. And so thankfully, I had a small group of really dedicated supporters in my district who hosted some fundraisers for me, and that raised a few $1,000s without me having to really do anything, and that funded a lot of the expenses. And then I also received some really good advice early on that what was going to have me win the seat was to knock on doors and just get out and talk to people face to face. And so I did a lot of that, which of course doesn't cost anything but time and energy. So I spent a lot of time going out with my toddler in the stroller and meeting people in my neighborhood, and that really, I think, is what helped me get the votes.
What about social media? More and more I see political campaigns being led through social media. Did you use some of those platforms as well?
I did. And the thing about that is I think it's really critical that people can find information about you if they want to, right? Because I've had it with local elections that I've tried to find out who these people are that are going to be on my ballot, and I can't find anything online. And so that was important to me that just with a simple internet search, people would be able to find me and find out something about me. So I started with a Facebook page, and the thing that is hard is knowing how many of your actual voters you're reaching, right? Because I can get followers, and it's a public page, and people might follow me from all over the country, but it's a very small subset of the population, even in the city of Gallup, who can actually vote for me. So that is where the door knocking and the face-to-face interactions really mattered. But I did go out to every possible community forum that I could and different neighborhood meetings, and just try to let people know who I am that way. And then I actually eventually also then set up the website that had information on it as well for people who don't have social media. But I do think that putting information online is one of the key ways for people to learn about the candidates in any election.
All right, thank you so much. We're now going to speak with Oklahoma City Mayor and Osage Nation citizen David Holt. Of course, listeners, you can join us with a comment or question at 1-800-996-2848. With that, joining us now from Oklahoma City is Mayor David Holt. He is Osage. Mayor Holt, welcome to Native American Calling.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. Now, you are the first Native American to serve as the mayor of Oklahoma City. Is there any particular responsibility that comes with that representation?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because, of course, we're the capital of a state with 39 tribes. I mean, we have a lot, obviously, history and culture as a state tied up with Native communities. So it's somewhat might strike people as unusual that there would not have been another Native American mayor in the city's first 130 years of history. But, there's none of those 39 tribes have their headquarters in Oklahoma City for whatever historical reasons. And maybe that was some reason for the disconnect. So being the first, I think is mostly an opportunity and an opportunity for representation, better engagement, just better visibility, but also, and this isn't entirely my doing, but I've also been lucky that my tenure coincided with the culmination of some commitments and investments that our city has made to strengthen these ties and to elevate the visibility of Native Americans in OKC. And the most notable example of that is the opening of First Americans Museum here in Oklahoma City that I got to preside over, cut the ribbon on in 2021. This is a $200 million museum of Native American and indigenous history and culture. And I would say there's really nothing of this scale anywhere else in the country other than on the National Mall. But I always kind of half joke that nobody goes to D.C., to learn about Native Americans, that this is where we have authenticity. And so that has been I think kind of the seed that has allowed us to really elevate ourselves over the last few years as a national capital for Native and indigenous people. Adjacent now to that museum is a $400 million indoor-outdoor water park resort owned by the Chickasaw Nation, which is not headquartered in OKC, but is about an hour to the south. And so between that resort and that museum, now you're looking at well over $500 million of investment that all sort of has Native American culture, governance, and history at its core. So it's been a fun time. I didn't come into office in 2018 and start the First Americans Museum project. I mean, that had been in the works for many, many years. But it has kind of been nice how, I would say serendipitous, how my tenure as the city's first Native American mayor has allowed us to really highlight some of these investments. And of course, I'm the first mayor to declare Indigenous Peoples Day. So you try to find also these symbolic ways to lift up the community, and we're doing that. And we're seeing a lot of, we're the home of the Native American Hall of Fame. We're seeing a lot of national organizations having their meetings here.
Okay.
And I'm certainly projecting a vision that we should be a national capital for Native people.
Mayor Holt, you wrote a New York Times essay in which you challenged the current trend toward eliminating racial and ethnic diversity. How well is that message received among your constituents in Oklahoma City?
Really well. I wrote that because obviously we're living in a year where there's this pushback, at least perceived pushback, against inclusion and diversity. But the reality is, I don't care what, some people think. I still have a city that's incredibly diverse. 60% of the kids of Oklahoma City are non-white. So I have to, as mayor, be concerned about delivering a community that offers the same opportunity to everybody. And of course, in America, we don't promise outcomes, but we do promise equal opportunity. And when you look in Oklahoma City, much like most American cities, and you see vastly different health, economic, educational outcomes between a black kid who grows up in one part of town and a white kid who grows up 10 miles away, you have to say that, listen, we're not providing that equal opportunity. So I wrote that piece, and, I would encourage people to Google it. It's a New York Times essay that came out this summer. I wrote that piece to really make that robust argument for the necessity of still focusing on diversity and inclusion. And, a lot of the things that get attacked with that phrase are things I don't recognize. I think the things that we've done here are very common sense. They're just basic efforts that any government should embark upon to include all of its residents. And these sort of boogeymen that have been created around the phrase of diversity and inclusion, I don't recognize, and I don't see as the kind of things that we're doing. But yeah, it's been well received. I think our city, when these things are explained in a common sense way and are positioned around the idea of equal opportunity, I think people buy into it really across the ideological spectrum. Maybe not at the extremes, but we don't run our city for the extremists. We run it for the 70% of people in the middle. And they've been very receptive to what I've been doing here in OKC. And certainly that includes Native Americans, but it also includes our very robust and active Latino community, our longstanding African American community, our Asian community. We have a very diverse city here, and everybody deserves to be a part of our story.
Now, listening to you today and hearing your support for DEI and some of these other initiatives, you seem to be pushing back on the presidential administration's efforts to reshape not only some of these contemporary challenges that we face in the United States, but also some of the American history as well. What do you think will be the effects of these efforts, and how are you trying to counter some of those efforts going forward?
Well, I mean, I view that the arc of American history has bent towards inclusion and greater opportunity for all residents for 250 years. And that arc is going to live long beyond the political fads of today or even a single administration in Washington. So, I think that what we're doing here is for the long term. And yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not ignorant to the fact that my rhetoric and my priorities don't always align with what's coming out on cable TV or Twitter. But, that type of short-term, political clout chasing is just not what we do here in OKC. I mean, we are very outcomes oriented. We're very long-term thinkers. And again, it just gets back to the reality. Like, diversity is a reality in Oklahoma City. I'm not trying to create diversity. I already have diversity. I have to create a city where everybody has equal opportunity. And that need isn't going away, and no administration can tell me that it's going away. We have to stay focused on it here.
Let's talk about Oklahoma Governor and Cherokee Nation citizen Kevin Stitt. Now, of course, the tribes there in Oklahoma, there have been some really strong back and forth, some real conflicts there, most recently over tribal hunting rights, but also the McGirt decision made a big impact as well. I'm curious to know, what's your relationship with the governor and also some of these tribes that are really opposed to him?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as the governor goes, I mean, I think it's, the professional relationship between the city and state. We as a community have long, and I mean, this goes back for 30 years, we take care of ourselves. Like all of the investments that we've made that have resulted in Oklahoma City's growth and all of these opportunities from being NBA champions to hosting the Olympics in 2028, all of these things we've done on our own without the state's assistance. So we operate pretty independently from the state. As far as our relationship with tribes, I mean, absolutely, it couldn't be any different than what you have seen at the state level here in Oklahoma. We are very close partners with the state's tribes, and as I said earlier, we don't have any tribal headquarters in Oklahoma City, so maybe that's to some degree an advantage in that it allows us to be partners with anybody who wants to be our friend. And certainly we have many friends among tribal leadership and tribal governments here in the state. I mentioned the Chickasaw Nation. Of course, that's probably the largest economic player among the tribes here in Oklahoma, and they've been very active here in Oklahoma City, both economically and and on a philanthropy side, and we're very grateful for that. And they are great friends. We are unabashedly pro-tribe, pro-sovereignty, and we work well with the tribes here in OKC.
Well, let me ask you this with regard to sovereignty, because Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. of the Cherokee Nation has described Governor Stitt as being the most anti-tribal sovereignty governor in the history of the state of Oklahoma. Do you agree with that?
I don't have necessarily the proper historical training to compare that, but I would reiterate, we are completely different in our approach here in Oklahoma City with the tribes, and I'm well aware of how other political leaders have chosen to manage those relationships. We just could not be any different. We value our tribal friends, and we value and prioritize sovereignty and respect it greatly. And this too shall pass. Maybe back to the previous question. Administrations, either in Washington or here at the state capitol, come and go. But we will, I think, see a restoration of state tribal relationships when the next administration comes in, whoever that governor will be, and that's only a year away. But here in OKC, the relationship already exists, and it is already strong.
All right. Mayor Holt, we have time for one more question, and here it is, the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, one of the deadliest acts of domestic terrorism in the United States, and it did emerge from white supremacist and anti-government militia movements. As a leader in the city now, what insights can you offer for quelling any type of divisive ideology that residents and citizens might face?
Well, sure. I mean, we talk a lot about this. I think it's kind of my obligation as mayor of Oklahoma City and the obligation of any resident of this city to do everything we can to help Americans remember the inevitable outcome of political divisiveness, dehumanization, this sort of apocalyptic rhetoric, this painting of of those that you disagree with as your enemies and people who must be destroyed. This is what happens, is the scar in downtown Oklahoma City is the inevitable outcome of that type of activity and behavior. So we talk about it a lot. I talk about it a lot. I speak at the memorial every year, and if you were to gather all of those speeches together, you would certainly see that is a continuing narrative for me. I would commend your listeners to maybe Google the Oklahoma City Declaration. It's something that we signed in September when I had 50 mayors here visiting me. I'm currently the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and it was right on point with your question. I mean, it's a 3-page document. It's an easy read, but it really explains the key democratic behaviors that we have to sustain if we're going to continue this American experiment. Now 230 mayors have signed it, and it's called the Oklahoma City Declaration. If you just Google that, you'll find it. And that's the kind of work we do here in OKC because, we don't want to see another event like April 19th.
For sure. Absolutely. Mayor Holt, appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you. Take care.
Absolutely. Now, we have reached the end of the hour, so I want to thank all of the guests who joined us today. Mayor Chris Roberts, Mayor-elect Ed Lowry, City Council Member-elect Sierra Yazi Asamoah Tutu, and Mayor David Holt. Hope you'll join us again tomorrow. We'll take a look at how tribes are protecting their languages in the fast-evolving artificial intelligence environment. I'm Sean Spruce. You've been listening to the one, the only, Native America Calling.
Support provided by Amerind. Amerind is 100% tribally owned and partners with tribes and their businesses to provide affordable commercial insurance coverage, protect tribal sovereignty, and strengthen Native American communities by helping to keep dollars in Indian country. Information about property, liability, commercial auto, and workers' comp available at Amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
Yat early detection saves lives. Joda nigo ya hanadagila Indian healthcare provider dan di ayan breast cancer screening gi eben ya adana nadoli. Naida kidnadagi na holongo ya healthcare.gov/coverage. Aja ya bit the din. Do die ya pesh baudil 1-800-318-2596. Raj ayabja pesh baudil. A message from Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.